From Mothman and Nessie to the spirit that haunts your home, welcome to Bob After Dark, a podcast about legends, lore, and the supernatural. So turn your lights down and your volume up and enjoy your trip to the shadows.
Oh, hey there, children of the night, and welcome to Bob After Dark, the show that takes you into the shadows and goes and says hello, everything that goes bump in a night. I'm your host with the most that enjoys toast, Bob, and alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful, ever vampiric, ever cape-wearing, and the heartthrob of Bob After Dark, my friend, my brother, my producer, Count Panic himself. Oh, hey there, Count Panic.
Oh, hey, Bob. My heart is always throbbing each and every episode of Bob After Dark.
Do you know what it means to be the heartthrob?
Yeah, like
you're the one with the appeal.
Yeah, but what's the like 90s?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas,
Mario Lopez, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, those folks. I'm the heartthrob of the 2022s and beyond.
Don't lie to me. Did you have the Jonathan Taylor Thomas haircut? I know that was a popular thing back in the day for our age group.
No, you know what? I never got the hair.
Did you do the frosted tips?
I never did the frosted tips.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Oh. I figure I asked.
Never. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. Well, but we'll find out if these other two had frosted tips in their day. But you know what, Bob? Excited to be back here for yet another episode of Bob After Dark. This one promises to be a real humdinger.
A regular hootenanny.
A hootenanny.
A hoedown.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to come back with one more.
A palooza.
I like that. We'll stop there. Yes. If this is your first time ever watching or listening to Bob After Dark, we are a weekly paranormal show where we talk about legends, lore, supernatural, things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, and of course, Count Panic's favorite breakfast cereal as a child.
Lucky Charms, Bob, I think. I was never big into cereal, but Lucky Charms, I wish they could make it all much marshmallows, though. It's probably still one of my favorite cereals. Good cereal.
That's excellent.
You?
Me, I was always Count Chocula.
Yeah, but you can only get that one time a year.
Man, I stock up.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, I have enough to last me through the year as long as it doesn't go stale. I legit, as much as I buy of it, and as the way I kind of pace it out, I can have a bowl every week up until it goes bad, and then I only have to wait like a month before.
All right.
That's
some good strategy.
I strategize my stuff. You should ask me about when I bought Ecto Cooler back in 2016.
Well, Bob, what happened when you bought Ecto Cooler back in 2016?
Shout out to Mariano's in Ukrainian village in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
That's quarter pallet. We have a couple guests here. I'll introduce the one, and then you introduce the other one.
All right.
But before we introduce anybody, because people are going to be mad, I need your weekend update.
Bob, it was a nice weekend. Getting in the festive spirit, the Yule is upon us. The veil is thinning as we speak.
Yes.
As I mentioned last episode, I'm in that portrayal of Dickens here in Munster, Indiana. Still continues on this weekend, and Steve, we were on that episode. We had.
Why are you? I didn't even introduce him yet.
Oh,
now you're just ruining it for everybody.
Well, that was one of the big.
Now you're ruining. Everybody knows who's here.
Well, yes. Well, we had that big episode talking about the ghost of Christmas Carol, so I've been doing that. Been watching some parades here locally in the region, some holiday Christmas parades. Been looking around, looking at the lights. Vampires get a little sentimental when they walk around, seeing all the Christmas trees and whatnot. So it's been a very festive weekend here, Bob.
That's great.
How about you?
I celebrated the first weekend of December in the best way you possibly can.
Oh, yeah?
The annual Krampus Festival.
That's right.
We used to go up to that one together once upon a time ago. I haven't gone in a while. So I went up to Milwaukee for this one because, in my opinion, that's like the biggest one. Mm-hmm. And it is a lot of fun. A lot of Krampusai. I saw some old friends, people that recognized us from the old days.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. Bells and Chains was had.
Oh, Bells and Chains.
Bells and Chains was had. It was a good time. Me and the Queen of the Night, who was dressed as your absolute favorite.
Yolcat.
She was dressed like Yolcat.
I saw that.
Yeah.
What a great time that was.
It was a good time. It was a little brisk on the cold side, but I always love me a good Krampus festival.
Did they?
Krampus night, if you will.
Was there any? Did you get attacked by a Krampus at any point?
I did actually. Dan Remember Dan with the
Yeah.
lot of sleigh bells? Oh, yeah, Dan got me again.
Yeah, I remember the first year.
Yes.
I also remember one time, I think the first time we went to celebrate the occasion,
Yeah.
you got in a little kerfuffle outside with somebody that's very close to you right now. I remember
Yeah,
that.
those are old times when I beat him up in the parking lot. All right, without further ado, we have two guests tonight, guys. We're technically rounding out, like, November ended, right, last week?
Yeah.
So, however, we did miss a couple weeks in November for Paranormal Investigator Month. So, with that being said, I figured we'd finish it out this week. Pretend last week wasn't the end of November. Let's say this one is, and we have one of my favorite paranormal investigators I work with on a personal level. People ask me all over the country, Bob, do you actually investigate things or do you just report on it? And the truth is, yes, I do investigations. I don't hang out with a lot of investigators because it's just not the way it pans out. But this gentleman that we have on the show today is one that I'm proud to say is not only a friend but a colleague as well. But before I introduce that one, hi, Steve.
Oh, hey there, Bob.
Steve's here, everybody.
There's the kick to the ego.
Oh, hey there, Steve.
Oh, hey there, Bob.
Happy holidays.
I'm sad that Krampus didn't get you.
Oh, hey there. Steve came. Steve was. I was on the phone with him yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, I have a guest coming in. Do you want to come in?"
And my response was, I'm not booked.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's
Yeah,
do this.
he's here. So, what have you been up to? How's everything?
Things are going great. Just got back from San Antonio. Wrestled for Branded Outlaw Wrestling out there. I got
get branded?
Got a little bit of wounds here. You can, but it was a good show. Delivered a Chi-Town beatdown as always.
Did you fight a Von Erich?
I did not. I fought. I'm talking like Count Panic now.
Vought.
I fought a man by the name of Andre Law. It was a good match, and I beat him. So.
That's good. We have another guest to introduce, and obviously that's who we're focusing on this week.
Absolutely.
But before we do that, a brief summary of your amazing trip, because you sent me frantically excited pictures, and now is your chance to share that experience.
I did, and I send you frantically excited pictures regularly, but
a lot I can't share on air.
But this was exceptionally unique. So I was at the San Antonio Zoo.
No, they didn't pay for this advertisement.
No, they definitely did not pay for this advertisement. Although it is a fantastic zoo. Legitimately.
If you guys are looking to sponsor a podcast that's nowhere near Texas.
Right. San Antonio Zoo, you are about to get the bump of a lifetime. So walking through, it's not even a quarter of the way through when I see some signage as I'm walking. And Bob, I'll be darned if that sign on the arrow did not say Chupacabra. And I stopped dead in my tracks. And I was like, that does not say Chupacabra. And I looked, and sure enough, the sign said Chupacabra. And immediately, my goal for the day changed as I needed to see the Chupacabra.
Yeah, I would too.
Right. Because if you're ever going to see a Chupacabra in a zoo, it's going to be in Texas.
Right, of course.
So I follow this path off to the side into a building that is labeled, this is not a joke, it is only labeled as night. That's it. It's just labeled night.
I imagine it being in like big red letters.
It was.
Fantastic.
It was in big red and black letters that just said night with like a bat over it.
That's wonderful.
And I walk in, and it's a completely pitch black room. And the light in this case turns on in this exhibit, and it's a bright red light. And inside, sure as heck, it's a Chupacabra, Bob. And I sent you the photos. We can put these up.
I have them. Yeah, I can put them up.
Yeah, we'll put them up on the website. But I have never been more excited in my life. I stood at that exhibit for a good 10 minutes.
Was it a taxidermy or was it like a rubber project?
I'm
I'm assuming it didn't move. They didn't start gluing other animal parts to a helpless badger.
They do a daily goat feeding.
Oh, okay.
No, it looked like a really well done model of what a chupacabra was described as, and I'm not gonna lie, it was absolutely terrifying.
Yes, I got a keychain, which I'm very excited about.
Yes, they sold chupacabra merch at the zoo. Which is the weirdest thing.
Which
to
is
say.
what you do if you have a chupacabra exhibit. You sell chupacabra merch.
For the record,
I'm
6'5", and this chupacabra came up to my waist. So it was
that's
huge.
A big chupacabra.
It was huge and terrifying.
That's a large chupacabra.
So anyway, I saw a chupacabra at the San Antonio Zoo, and my life has changed.
Did you wrestle the chupacabra?
I'll wrestle a bear.
Okay.
But you're not wrestling.
But I will not wrestle a
I don't think
chupacabra.
I did a chupacabra. Do I have a chupacabra episode?
We got to look back at the database.
If not, we'll have to look. I don't even know what I did an episode on. But
I would be shocked if we at some point.
So, my question is one, and we gotta get to the other guests. So I don't want to harp on this, but was there anything else in the night building other than the chupacabra?
There was a minor exhibit of bats,
But the main draw was the chupacabra.
but the main draw was the chupacabra.
Were you the only one there excited to see this thing?
Absolutely, I was. I was the only person in this room. The room, it couldn't have been more than 15 feet long and 6-8 feet deep.
Sure.
It was a small room in this building, and that was the only thing. It was some bats and the chupacabra, and that was it in the building labeled night in the San Antonio Zoo.
I'm gonna reach out to them, see if they'll send me down there to take some pictures.
If you read the placard that was over the exhibit for the chupacabra, it reads like it's a real thing. They have a real chupacabra. There's literally a line in it that says, it was thought to be an urban legend until now.
It's like the hokiest side road attraction.
It is, and I was all for it.
Real quick, I appreciate the keychain, and I appreciate that on a grand scale.
Absolutely.
I hope other zoos. I don't know if the West Virginia Zoo has a Mothman exhibit, or New York has a Champy exhibit in one of their zoos. But either way, in my opinion, every zoo should have one of these. Brookfield should have an exhibit of yours truly there.
Well, I mean, you can't have two Mothman exhibits, Bob.
Good.
Folks, remember our phone lines are open, 219-845-1100. You could call in at any time, give us your feedback, or ask us questions, what have you. But without further ado, the whole reason why we're here is to talk about paranormal investigations with a paranormal investigator. You already got your chance. I did an entire interview with you earlier last month.
No, it's fine. You already buried me. Let's keep this going.
Well, I'm just saying you had an entire episode dedicated to you.
I did.
This gentleman's got to share a spot with you.
I'm giving him the rub tonight.
Count Panic, you want to introduce our guest tonight?
Oh, I'll be loving to, Bob. Our guest tonight, a beloved member of the community for many reasons. One being he's a paranormal investigator, hailing from Griffith, Indiana. He spearheads the group Northwest Indiana Paranormal. Our friend, your friend. We've been on many adventures with the man, Pete Ghrist.
Oh, hey there, Count.
That was a good introduction,
You stole my line.
I was going to get to you next. Oh, hey there, Bob. Oh, hey there, Steve. Good to see you all.
Pete.
Oh, hey there.
It's nice to have you. We had you on the show once before, midst of the pandemic, and I had to have you on via phone call. But I was like, here we are running out the month, and I had to have you here. So I'm like, it's really exciting to have you at my desk.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's
exciting to be here.
Is this your first time in the studio?
I've been in the studio for other things other than paranormal,
Okay.
but it's still exciting to be here every single time.
Oh, we appreciate that. So, as we've talked about in previous episodes with other investigators, a lot of times you talk about paranormal investigations, etc., and people only want to hear about the investigation. They never want to hear about the investigator. And you guys don't understand that. Every investigator has their secret origin story, and a lot of times that these guys, especially myself included, not just guys, but people in general, but these folks, we stand out in the cold, we stand out in rooms without running water, we breathe in asbestos. There's a lot of just standing around, getting chased by raccoons in the bottom of buildings. Steve will hopefully share that story later. But, you never hear the story about the person. So that's what we've been dedicating our entire month to. And maybe I'll do another couple of these because it's been really successful. A lot of you guys seem to really enjoy these episodes, which I am too. So that works out great. But without further ado, Pete, let's start at the very beginning. The secret origins of Pete Ghrist. When did you find out that there was a paranormal? What led you to that world? Just tell us the story.
Well, about probably when I was about 19, so that would have been around 1997.
About 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Gotcha.
Good. I was living in my grandparents' house. My grandfather had just passed away. I had a room kind of sectioned off in the basement. One of those things where you have a clothes rack represents one of the walls type thing, but it just opens out to this dark basement. Across the basement was my grandfather's drafting room. And again, he had just passed away. We were living there to try to help take care of him when he was in hospice as well. It just I had never really experienced anything paranormal up to that point. I was always into Halloween, those type of things. But on this occasion, I just happened to go to bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and a lot of people will know what I'm talking about, where you wake up, you look at the clock, it's 3 o'clock on the dot.
Yeah.
And you have this overwhelming feeling that you can't look over your shoulder, like there's something standing there. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I felt like somebody was at the foot of my bed, just slightly just pulling on my blanket, like trying to pull it off.
Sure.
So I put my fingers on the top of the blanket, and I was holding it, and it got to the point where it was almost taut. It was obvious something was pulling, and it was kind of like a tug of war with that blanket. The whole time I had my eyes clenched shut. I didn't know what was going on, but then I kind of gave up, and I said, I want to see what happens. I let go, and the blanket got completely pulled off of me onto the ground. At that point, in my grandfather's drafting room, it sounded, and I don't know why it was, but it sounded like somebody dumped a bucket of ice on the floor. Never figured out what that was, but I did knock over my alarm clock and run completely upstairs, and never slept down there again because of that. But there was something about the rush of that whole experience that really turned me on to the paranormal. It was it kind of let me know, hey, there is something worth investigating, something worth looking into. So I got kind of into the shows, started watching things like that.
What were some of the shows you were watching back then?
Yeah, Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
Things like that, like the original ones and stuff like that with the original team. But and then, later on got into like the Ghost Adventures type things, stuff like that. And about 2012, I went on one of Mike McDowell's trips at Old Lake County Jail, and it's one of many people's favorites.
One of my absolute favorites. No matter where I'm at in the world, I love that joint.
It ran by Sandy Boyd,
Sandy.
Who does a wonderful job there, along with everybody else, all the other volunteers there and board members. And went on one of those things, and I was just hooked after that. Went there with a couple of coworkers, walked around. They let us use some of the equipment, and decided about 2013 to start kind of like investigating myself. So myself and some friends started going around. I think the first one we ever did was Reeder Road.
Yeah, it's everybody's first one. I love it.
And then just kind of built from there. You start off with a couple pieces of equipment, and then before long you're adding equipment, and it's a very expensive hobby.
It is very.
For those of you who haven't got involved with it. So,
What was your first piece of equipment?
I believe it was a K2 meter.
Yeah.
So, and it was probably one of those bunk ones, like one of those ones that says like ghost meter on the side of it, something like that.
So
but
you weren't shoving a quarter in a button to hold it down while you were doing
no.
it. Steve laughed at that one.
I did, yeah.
So you're messing around with the K2 meter. You're at Reeder Road. What was your first big investigation? What was your first full-fledged thing you did?
Well, I had some friends that we like to just go out to Gypsy Cemetery out in Hebron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, again, we didn't have that much equipment. So what we would do is just sit in the graveyard, or I'm sorry, the cemetery. Graveyard would have to be near a church.
Yes.
But I would...
Kudos to you for knowing that, by the way.
Little piece of equipment.
You know what? I never put that together.
There's a difference. Count, you should know that.
I know, but I always just call them. I always just switch off by saying what they are.
A graveyard would be considered.
That makes sense.
Graveyard's considered sacral ground in some regard. It doesn't have to be a Catholic church, but any place. But I digress. Good job, Pete.
Very interesting piece of information that I learned with that. So now I spew it out whenever I can.
That's how you earn your merit badge as School Scouts.
So, but we would just sit in there until pretty much you were the adrenaline was just so there, that you couldn't stand it anymore. You're sitting in pitch black. Maybe you have one K2 meter out, watching for it to hit. That type of stuff. But about 2013, I'm also a school resource officer for the police department. So we were, I was working at Griffith High School, and myself and another teacher, Jenna Parker, we just had decided that, we had been going out and doing ghost hunting, things like that, paranormal investigations. And we were telling the kids about it. We were like, hey, we did this weekend, or we did that weekend. And there was a couple other teachers involved. And the kids were like, man, I wish we could go on those. And we were kind of like, oh, man, that would make a really cool club. I don't know if they'd approve it, but, we could write it up. So we wrote it up, and we made sure that it was heavy on history and, donations to the places that we go, and community service as well. And it was approved. So we started it in 2013, and since that time, we have gone on over 150 investigations. That there is hundreds of students that have been involved in it, and parents as well.
Yeah.
And we've donated thousands of dollars towards the continued operation and restoration efforts of the places that we visit, and been on television as part of a Halloween special one time. Been in multiple newspaper articles. We put flags on the graves of American veterans in cemeteries around Memorial Day. Pack boxes for, around Christmas time, Thanksgiving, for families that are in need, things like that. So it's not just all about ghost hunting and paranormal investigations. It's about respecting the history of the people that came before us, and then giving back to the community.
So, in my experience, as I've been talking to more investigators about where their passion lies, for Steve, for example, it's one part science, one part history. What's the science behind it? What's the history behind it?
Right.
Are you more interested in what the history was first than ghost story?
Yeah, absolutely. The history is the big thing for me. I can go to one of these places like Ohio State Reformatory or something like that and have absolutely nothing happen while we're there that's paranormal, and still have the time of my life, because you're walking in places that, not everyday people can go over and walk in some of these places that we go to, the place that we rent out, which I always make sure that I throw that out there. You should always have permission to go to any of these places that you go to do investigations. To not do that is just irresponsible and rude and disrespectful. So, but just go in these places and be able to walk right in the places where these people did, 100 years, 200 years before you. Just an amazing experience every single time.
There. I mean, and there are definitely some locations, older houses especially, where you walk in and you realize someone used to live here 100 years ago, and now no one's coming in this building anymore except for us. And so just to get a kind of a glimpse into the past is always really fascinating. I mean, I know there have been some locations that have been whole old mansions that have been run down, but the wallpaper is still on the wall. And so you could tell and see a little glimmer of what the history of this place was, what it was like in the heyday. And like you said, there's just something special about being in a location where not a lot of people get to go.
Absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite experiences was at the Stone Mansion in Winchester, and I slept in the bedroom of a Civil War general that had built the Stone Mansion. So you're literally in this room, and half the ceiling is on the floor because it's the plaster is fell. The doors are swollen from the heat from not having air conditioning or things like that. But you're literally sitting in there and you can almost picture everything the way that it was before because, like you said, the wallpaper's still on the wall in some places. Or some places you could see the layers of the wallpaper going all the way back to the 1800s. So it's just something like that we wanted to share with the kids. And what's really cool about it is because we'll give them the history, the paranormal history as well. And you see these kids going in there and they've got the sheet that we gave them and they're asking questions about the individuals that were there.
That's cool.
They're really, really learning off that. And at the same time, you have kids that are from all walks of life. You have people that are, on the baseball team or drama or a cheerleader or the chess club. And all these people are all together with one common interest, and they would have never talked to each other, ever, except for that club. And so you see them the next day, and they're talking about different experiences that they had. And those type of things, it just makes the effort all worth it for the club to see people who would have never spoke to each other, all walks of life, common interest, that are going out and they're supporting the community and learning about the history.
That's amazing.
And I think that's so important too. Is especially at that age where cliques are a real thing. I know in high school I was starting to do some investigating, and I was afraid to tell anyone about what I was doing because it was looked at so strangely. So the fact that this club is able to get all these kids from all these different kinds of areas and interests all together and talking and working together is phenomenal.
Yeah, it like you said before, if you go back 10 years, 15 years, it was a little bit more of a kind of a not so cool thing to do. Now it's very mainstream. There's 109 students in this club this year.
Is that a record for you?
Yeah, that's the most we've ever had there. Usually the most we ever had was like 90, things like that. The first year we had like 30, but every year it's just gone up. The only year we didn't do it was the year 2020 with COVID.
Let's talk a little bit about the high school club because I'm going on a whim, and I'm going to tell you that I talk to a lot of people all around the world doing what I do, and I could say that I might have heard of people doing this for like a class trip, like a one-off thing. I've never heard of a sanctioned club from the school that says, yeah, go ahead and take the kids to this. Am I on the right assumption in saying that you're probably either A, pioneering this, or B, you're one of the, the only one who's doing it?
Well, I did look up online, to try to see. I just searched high school paranormal. And there are a few places around the country that are doing them. There's one in Middle Illinois that was doing it. They're kind of going to a lot of the same places, which we do as well.
Sure.
Obviously we can't go somewhere that's 5 hours away or something like that. But we always try to mix in new things. Like next semester, we already have 3 or 4 different new locations. Every year we add some new ones on there. But we have, over the years, had several different high schools that contacted us asking for our waivers or for our permission slips or for our bylaws that come with it, because they want to start their own group. there's area ones around here that teachers that used to work at Griffith go out and they try to start the club at another school.
That's amazing.
Things like that. So, and it's going to start off small when they go to do it. And, at first you're not going to have much equipment. But you start somewhere and you go from it. We actually just helped start one at Purdue University Northwest. We did 2 events there. Their intramurals program, Matt Dudzik, he invited us to come over and do an event there, and it was extremely popular. So right after that event that we did, they decided they wanted to start their own group. So they started an official club there through their intramural program, bought some equipment. We had another event. This time they got to come out as members of their club with their T-shirts and their logo.
That's amazing.
And be able to go out and help them. And we told them, hey, anytime you want, we'll come out. We'll bring our equipment. We'll help you get started, things like that. So we like to try to plant new teams as well. And, obviously with my adult group, the other
We'll
group
talk about that, yeah. How many high school's the important one? College, even when I was going over there, you start meeting like-minded people. The high school thing is so interesting because the paranormal is such a widely interesting topic. Like you were saying, these kids wouldn't be talking to each other if it wasn't for the ghost story aspect. How many schools do you think I'm assuming schools have reached out to you. You were saying before about waivers and stuff. How many schools around the country have reached out to you so far and been like, hey, what you got going on over there? How do you do that?
Probably about a dozen.
That's amazing because that splinters off.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
wow.
I think the farthest one, there was one down in Florida that had contacted us because they had read something about the article because it had become on a national time. So it was we started off with one article somewhere, and then it ended up being, put in police1.com because there was a police officer that was involved with it. So, it starts off with Griffith officer, and then it turns into where it says, Indiana officer because it becomes a national article, and then everybody gets to read that, and then you have somebody calling you from Florida going, hey, we want to start our own club down here. So, and I'll be like, hey, no problem. I'd love to send you this stuff. Get it started. Do it. It works.
It's a great thing because, kids have this. Because when I was a kid, Bob, you know this, Steve, you know this, you just stumble around Reeder Road until you find something. So
that's
it's great that kids have something like this now.
Wandering around, I'll never forget my first investigation, wandering around Reeder Road with a pencil flashlight and my cell phone jotting down notes of how many paces in was I when something happened.
Yeah. Now it's good that they have this outlet that they could do it safely.
And I've been with you on your high school trips before. You were with me. We did one we did one at your high school once, and that was a really cool experience. Did you? This is an odd question, but did you get any pushback from parents or the administration when you pitched the club, or they were just all about it? They were like, "Yep, do it."
No, actually, they were so supportive of it, and the administration now continues to be supportive of it. Everyone from our superintendent to our principals, things like that, the teachers, they all think it's a great thing. I mean, it's the most popular club in the school, obviously.
That's amazing.
So
awesome.
they just whenever we do the picture each year for the yearbook, they have to do 2 pictures because there's so many kids in it.
That's gotta be rewarding, Pete.
Oh, absolutely. When you're driving home, because I drive the bus too.
Sure.
So I got certified to drive the bus. So myself and Casey Verity run it now, and so when you're driving home and you got the radio playing and the kids are singing, along with the radio on the way home, and they're all excited and they're talking about everything that happened there. I couldn't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. Showing pictures to each other of things that they took that they think might find some evidence. It's just all worth it,
Sure.
And they're learning about stuff, and they'll come to you the next day. Hey, you know what? When that popped up on the obelisk, last night, I was thinking about it all night, and it could have been this individual that was part of it. So when they're leaving there, they're still thinking about the place. They're still thinking about the history.
Sure.
It's not just, we're going to go over here and do some dog and pony show investigation and stuff. They take it really seriously. I'm so proud of these kids. They're so well behaved. People call us, and people. I've run into where you call a place and you go, hey, can my group come over there and like, we're going to let a bunch of high school kids over here that are going to do this? And I'm like, but you don't know my kids. You don't know my kids. These kids take this very extremely seriously. And now when people have them over at their properties, they're calling us and telling us, hey, are you going to come back? We'd love to have you come back because the kids are so well behaved.
They're not meddling kids.
They're not meddling kids.
Yeah, not meddling kids. Right.
That's, and that's such a nice thing because – people ask me what I do for work, and I'm like, I do this. And there's still a weird, stigma. I'm a grown man doing this, but it's so cool that you never received pushback because that would have been like, I imagine the one parent just writing into the school being like, I don't like this fill-in-the-blank reason why. And it's so cool that you just go do it. Oh, yeah,
and we encourage any parent to come along. And we have had occasionally where a parent said, hey, can I go with on a trip first to see what it's like before I let my son or daughter come with? Sure, no problem. Come along. And then so they come along, and then those are the parents that later on are going, my son's grounded, but can I still come on the trip tonight?
That's Pete, I got to say, I don't take my compliments lightly. It's part of the reason why I look up to you and I respect you as much as I do is because
thank you.
You did that, and that's so cool. I can appreciate that. Somebody I talk to is, when teachers reach out to me and ask me to talk to kids or something, I do it from time to time. But, you're like out there doing it, and that's really cool.
No, it's a real pleasure to be able to, teach them history in such a unique way.
Yeah.
Some people have no interest in history whatsoever until you give them a way to uniquely learn it. And so, when they when they're reading the paper and you're driving and it's like it's silent. People are reading these papers and stuff like that. Or when I post on our Schoology page, I'll post one of the groups and I'll say, okay, well, 12 people can go on the bus. And within,
I can't imagine.
within we have 3 trips coming up.
Yeah.
And they're all in a week and a half. We got three trips in a week and a half. And the first one, I had 26 kids say they wanted to go. The next one was 24. And then the one after that was 17. And I only have 12 spots on each one of those things. So I have to.
That's a good problem to have, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But I have to keep a big spreadsheet, and
Sure.
we keep track of how many trips they've been on. And then it goes by senior down to freshman, things like that. So it's very, very popular.
We have a caller on the line. Who do we got?
We do. We'll take it live.
You're on the air, caller.
Hey, Bob.
Hey,
Steve.
John. Nice to hear your voice.
Hey, how you guys doing this evening?
Oh,
Doing
great,
well.
John.
John. What's on your mind tonight?
Nice to hear you again, Steve.
Thank
Glad
you.
you're back.
Thank you
Hey,
so much.
Officer Pete, I got maybe a stupid question.
No
for you.
such thing as stupid
Ready?
questions, John. Not from you.
Okay, here we go. Has your experience being a police officer or a paranormal activity investigator ever been tied in some way of being a police officer as relating to perhaps something unusual in your department that you were involved in?
Oh, you're talking about has there ever been a paranormal experience when I was on the job?
Yeah, either that or maybe I know you're probably not a regular police officer. You're probably not doing really, or are you into investigations? I don't know.
Like say you had to investigate a demon house or something like that. Well, as a police officer.
Something maybe unusual in the department that, where either somebody did come to you or your head is spinning and saying, wait a minute, maybe I can relate back to my paranormal activity experiences to help the department out in some way. Maybe a stupid question, and if no, that's fine,
Nothing like where it comes down to actually responding to something that's paranormal or dealing with that. Have I ever ran across that? However, there are some times where I'll go to a business for a normal, thing, and everybody knows that I'm involved in these type of things in town. I try to stay very involved, and I love my town. It's just a great place to live and work. So I'll be leaving a business after an alarm call or something like that, and then somebody will be like, hey, while you're here,
Oh, okay.
and then I'll just be like,
you
hey,
got to put the other hat on.
yeah,
You're the-
I'll just be like, I'll stop back by when I'm off, and then we can talk about that.
Okay, well that ties into my question. That answers it. And hey, thanks for all you do with the kids there too.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John, for calling in as
Thanks,
always.
Thank you. Take care.
Yes. All right, so let's bridge that gap. You got your high school group, and then obviously you have your adult group, right? You got the adults can stay the night in these rooms. I'm not bringing my high school kids to sleep in an abandoned room by any means. But bring the adults there, asbestos all day. You want running water? You better hop to that gas station down the block and hope they're open.
Right. Exactly. We've all been there. So
There's a pump in the back.
There's a
It's
pump
fine.
in the back.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It may still work. We'll find out when we get there.
Folks
Oh,
at
yeah.
home, you think I'm joking. For the non-paranormal like investigators out there, they're like, what are they talking about? Oh, no, this is a problem we all have.
oh yeah.
It's the stop at the gas station 5 miles away where it's like, okay, grab what you want for dinner tonight. And
Yep,
Right.
you guys
is
better
it.
enjoy them fruit pies. That's your dinner tonight, guys.
Right.
So you're the founder of the fill in the blank. What's the name?
Northwest Indiana Paranormal. We founded that in 2018, and it actually was founded by a group of people that were, a lot of them were parents from the high school group that were going on trips and going, hey, you know what? I'd like to be able to go a little bit farther and go to this place.
And have
or
a
I'd like
beer.
to stay.
Listen, I'll call it how it is.
And, stay a little bit later or
Yeah.
spend the night in the place or go to this place that's a little bit more scary or, because, there are some places that I wouldn't take a high school group, stuff like that. But it turned into where we were kind of like, hey, we need to take this up a notch, and we're going to do this as adults. So we did that in 2018. Started off with our Facebook page and our Instagram, and we've got over 1,000 followers now on our Facebook page. But a lot of the principles are the same thing. A huge focus on history. But one of the things that we do that I love the most about it is we'll find like a story that's associated with a small town that like a lot of people won't know, and we'll follow up on it. And one of my favorites is a place in Fowler, Indiana, the old Benton County Jail.
I
there.
remember Fowler because we couldn't make it. Panic! You almost got me drowned, Count Panic.
We were there in a
We were-
tornado.
Yeah, everybody had to turn back. I remember.
I was not thrilled with that
Yeah,
one.
we met-
Let's
we were
go
like-
back the way that we came. No, it's fine. Let's take this shortcut I found, and I'm driving through door-high water, just gliding. And I'm like, you're fine.
we were like 3 blocks away from the place, and then the village people not the band, the village people told us to go back. They're like, get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy in the truck wasn't happy when he pulled up next to us.
Sorry,
Were they like, young man?
young man. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Sorry.
it's
Go,
okay.
okay, let's Fowler. Yes.
So, like places like that, there's a story that's associated with Fowler that has to do with the murder of a 15-year-old girl in 1883, Ada Atkinson, and the guy that killed her was a farmhand that lived in her house, and so eventually he admitted to his crime, and he was inside the old Benton County Jail, and about 100 to some newspapers say 300 vigilantes showed up, and they were all on horseback. Farmers from all over the place. They came and forcibly removed him from the jail, and then took him to the Atkinson jail and executed him. Then put him on a sign. In the town square with a sign that said "A warning to murderers" on it. And this was all in 1883, and nobody knows about this kind of stuff except for if you're from Fowler and you know about that kind of story. So we started getting into it, and we found an old 1800s map of the area, put a satellite image over it, and we were able to trace the steps down to where we thought the house once stood. And after I almost got attacked by a dog, because you don't ever go up just to somebody's house you don't know, I ended up going. They said, go and check that house over there. And I went over and knocked on the door, and I said, the man answered the door, and I said, do you know Ada Atkinson? And he said, that was my great aunt. And it was just the coolest thing. He invited us in, told us that he helped tear down the murder house. when he was in his 20s because it was full of termites. Showed us pictures of the family, pictures of the house that he had on the wall. We got to know him. Since that time, we've participated in a documentary that they just recently filmed down there, where that man Jeff Schaefer, where he was actually interviewed. So it's just that type of stuff is where we kind of, we take it to the next notch with that as well. Not just in the experiments that we do, because everybody that's a paranormal investigator knows that there's different levels of experience of experiments that you'll do. But we ended up also upping the actual history and, the investigation of the story that's behind it. It's something that I would really like to get involved in, maybe even write a book about what occurred down there.
Can I write the foreword?
Hey, that'd be great.
No, thanks. That's 2 forewords, Jack, if you're listening. And I'm writing yours, too.
I'm going to write the backward after.
The backward.
The backward.
Can Count write your backward?
Perfect.
All right,
that's
perfect.
good.
Sounds good.
Hey, Count, when I have a book, you want to write my forward?
I'm going to do your forward.
Excuse me, what?
Well, it's only fair.
If I'm not writing your forward,
No, I'm going to get a blurb from you. I'm going to get a jacket blurb.
Just the worst book I ever read. It's the inside flap.
That'll be the biggest one. It'll be the best review.
Everything here is a lie. So 2018, how many members you got?
Oh boy. I mean, like participating members, the thing about a lot of paranormal groups is they'll have their set investigators in their group.
Right.
And they say nobody else is involved. We're going to put our stuff online. You can look at our pictures and everything, but you can't come on trips. Or they'll host like a public investigation for somebody, like an event, and then they'll invite some people. We're always very inclusive, and we let anybody participate. So, I mean, obviously we'll keep a certain number of people that are going to go on a trip because we don't want to bring too many. But say if we're taking 10 people, we have a group of about 15 to 20 core members that we'll throw it out there to them and see who wants to go. And then if there's 4 or 5 slots left, we'll throw it up on our page and say, hey, who wants to go on this trip? This is how much it is. And we don't make any profit off of it whatsoever. We're completely not for profit. In fact, we're looking into trying to actually take that up a notch, and we would like to become a 501c3. We'd like to start getting into cemetery restoration for tombstones. We'd like to get into saving old buildings and properties, things of that nature. So we've already done multiple cleanups all over the state. Hannah House in Indianapolis Boulevard. I got a nasty case of poison ivy there when we were cutting some stuff down, but it was all worth it. It was for a good cause. And then
I love the Hannah House. That place
it's awesome. Yeah, you went there with us.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
And then we went to a speakeasy in Hartford City, which Hartford City is one of the most haunted towns I've ever been in. So it's really cool aspect to be in there, and you're helping restore history, while you're helping clean up this place, so that, because a lot of these places, they have, just a few people that are trying to manage a place, trying to keep it going. And so we come in there, we help them sweep and vacuum, take down some old wallpaper that's hanging off, things like that, and then go and, have something to eat, hang out with everybody, and meet some new people. It's awesome.
I got to bring up the one time, though, we've been on a few occasions all together.
Yeah.
But, we're on the airwaves, WJOB. The old WJLB studio. Very fond memories that night.
My favorite place I've ever investigated ever, because I got my white whale evidence from there. I got my moment from that place.
Pete, I mean, where's that rank on your goings on? Where do you put that at?
I mean, that was some really compelling evidence.
Yes.
That word coming across the obelisk. And then, I mean, not only that, we ended up with a door closing right behind us while we were standing there. I mean, it was just, usually you go into a place and you got to wait for a little while, and then the energy builds up, and then you start having stuff happen. But every now and then, there's a place where you walk in and just stuff starts to just happen right away. And that was one of those places where we walked in and it just had a feeling when we walked in, and before long we weren't disappointed.
I wasn't fortunate enough to come with on that, but the one time I did a show with you.
Yeah.
I remember walking into that building, and my first thought was like, you could just feel it. There's just something off in the energy of the building.
Yeah.
And for you longtime listeners,
That was a long time
well, yeah,
ago.
but you also know that like I'm not a big like energy kind of guy. That's never really been my thing. But walking into that place, something feels different. It feels heavier when you walk in there, and as an investigator, that's one of those immediate triggers where you're like, okay, there's more to this building than what you're actually seeing, and you kind of want to get a little bit more into there. So I just remember that about that building. That's the one thing I remember about that place.
That in the shadow. When I looked up and your eyes got wide, I was like, it looked like you saw a ghost.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Look, and then we went back frame by frame throughout when we had the live video feed back then.
Yeah, we did that.
Frame by frame, and there it goes. It stops at the window. It like almost looks like it looks in, and it just keeps going right down that hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were the one who witnessed it because I was far back. My back was to it.
Yeah.
And I just look up, and your eyes are like this.
I forgot it. Yeah. That was a wild place.
Yeah, it's a good one of my favorite places to investigate. But I digress. How many of your high school kids grew up to either join the adult group and got to see, Officer Ghrist turn into Pete? Like, how many kids have done that transition?
We've actually had a lot of kids
Yeah.
that have stuck around and they've said, hey, can I, I'm graduating soon. Can I join the adult club when you go to do it? And it's like, awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of them go to Purdue Northwest. And so some of them have gotten involved with the new club over there, and some of them still just go on our trips with them. I took a group of them to Rhodes Hotel once, which I actually went there last weekend again. But we had a group go out there, and it's so cool. We have this picture, and it's just of this group of people, investigators, on this porch, and we matched it up completely with another picture from 120 years before that. Wow. And it has all these people wearing, feathered hats and, old school clothing, and it's all black and white. And, you're sitting right where those people sat. And you could still see the beams, and the paint's all chipped on them, but it's those original beams that are there. So that was definitely very interesting to go to, and places like that, Rhodes Hotel. The paranormal community, as you guys both know, is just one of those things that everybody is supporting each other for the most part.
Yes.
But you have like Rhodes Hotel is owned by, the Lost Limbs Foundation. So when you go over there and you're doing a paranormal investigation of a very haunted 1893 hotel, you're also supporting the Lost Limbs Foundation through your donation. So it's kind of, also helping at the same time for them to raise money for, their charity.
Yeah.
So Mike Couch runs that, and just another fantastic individual. But we were able to do Asher Walton House, which is, a lot of people don't know, there's one house in the middle of these two properties. So we were able to go to that, which they actually have night vision cameras going all throughout the house.
Oh, that's
the
fun.
entire time. So you could sit there, if something happens, you write it down for them, the time and the camera.
Sure.
And they go back and review it for you. And they called me the next day. We're eating lunch, and they're like, we can't wait to talk to you. We found something.
That's amazing. Now that's what I like to call convenience and investigation.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
great.
we have night vision cameras ready to go.
You just write down the times, and we'll go
deal
over it.
deal
Yeah.
with it.
Oh, yeah.
Steve's like, man, I'll have to sit there and
Yeah.
scroll through hours of it.
You just saved me 10 hours of work.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people think that's like easy, and it's not. I would say the worst part is plugging everything in and changing batteries. Mm-hmm. That's number one. I hate that. Number two is the evidence review, sitting there with a recorder next to your ear, trying to listen for a whisper for an EVP to come through it.
In my opinion, scanning EVPs is the absolute worst because I'm naturally drawn to sound as it is. So I'm sitting there in just silence, or you'll hear something stupid from the next room and somebody didn't call it out, and then you're like, No, I hear them now talking because they didn't call out that they were walking.
Right.
That's my worst.
You've got to cross-reference it with all the other like film and yeah.
But EVP is like, seriously, that is my favorite type of evidence.
Yes.
Because 99% of the time you don't get anything. Nothing.
No.
Nothing. For you're sitting there all the times you do it, nothing.
Oh, it's true.
And it's so like, people all around you, they want to hear something, and then like you go through the thing and nothing happens. Oh, we didn't get anything. It's kind of deflating. You know what I mean? But the one time that you get that one really good Class A EVP where you don't even have to stress to hear it.
Yeah.
That's worth all the other times that didn't work out.
I got to ask, what's your favorite EVP you've ever caught?
Actually, could I interrupt you? Did you bring it?
I gave it to
Excellent.
Count.
Yeah, somebody
How
came
about
prepared. Somebody came prepared.
You said I just need to show up today.
What about any other day when I'm like, hey, Steve, can you bring a news story?
Oh, hold on. No, we'll play right there. One second, I'll get it right now. You guys, you want to set this up any?
Yeah. This was actually captured by the Griffith Highschool Paranormal Society back, I believe, in 2018. They were at the Little Red Schoolhouse in Hammond, and they were in the basement. And what a lot of people don't know about how you do EVP sessions, like EVP burst sessions and things like that, is you ask a question and everybody shuts up and they don't say anything. They don't move around. They don't whisper. And you wait about 10 seconds and then you ask another question, wait 10 seconds. You play it back, and sometimes there's voices or whispers in between the questions. So in this particular one, we played it back, but it was just we were kind of just sitting in the dark and just letting a recorder go for about, somewhere around 5-10 minutes. And then when we went and played it back, this is what we got.
Here you go. I'll turn it up for you guys too the second go around. Let's play it again here. See what we got.
If you listen closely, you can hear "Help Me."
I'll do it one more time.
Yeah, one more time.
Yeah, I hear it there.
Yeah.
So, we do get some good evidence with my adult group, but for some reason, and I do not know why, but my high school group gets even better evidence. I don't know whether it's just because they're younger, they're more open to it, whatever the case may be, but they get some great EVPs.
You know what's fascinating about that is, and I'm not sure, obviously you've experienced it. Every time I've been in a location where there is either a child or a teenager, for whatever reason, we get better evidence. We did an investigation one time in Joliet, did a Girl Scout overnight at the library, main branch of the library down there. We had stuff all night. We had EVPs saying, "Hi, Steve," to me. But they never get anything any other time. So it's there's got to be some kind of correlation to the kind of the energy that they can feed off of from the children, or if there's just more of an openness because they're not as conditioned to kind of shut all of that off, so they're more reachable. But I'm in agreement. There's absolutely some kind of correlation there between doing it when there's a youth present as opposed to just when it's us adults.
Right, correct. And it's not just with the EVPs. When you're doing like an Estes method, spirit box session. For those not familiar at home, essentially a spirit box is going through all the channels of radio so fast that you shouldn't be able to hear any words come through it. It actually turns into just white noise. So people will have noise-canceling headphones. They'll have that on there. They'll be blindfolded. And if they hear any words come through the white noise, they'll say them. Meanwhile, there's people across the room that cannot be heard by that person, and they are asking questions. And essentially what it is it's like a communication conversation with a spirit. so when we're doing this with the high school group, sometimes it's like you're talking to somebody on the phone. Like, and it depends. There's different members of the group that would like, hey, get that person over here to do it. Get that person to go over it, because they're even more connected than the other teenagers, than the other high school kids. It just, for some reason, there's some people that are very in tune. I don't know whether they have a portion of their brain that's unlocked that some people don't have, but it's definitely very fascinating to sit there and go, wow, this person is literally having a conversation with a spirit here.
Yeah, that's always really fascinating to see those kinds of interactions.
What'd you think of the EVP, Steve?
No, I definitely heard Help Me. It's a really good one too. It's one that you don't have to listen too hard to. That's a one hand up to the head to the headset kind of EVP, and I mean that's solid evidence that you got there.
Yep.
I wasn't aware. How many did you bring?
I'm sorry, that was the only EVP
We
that
got a
I
couple
had.
photos down here.
Oh yeah, let's talk about some photos real quick since we're talking about evidence, and Steve can look at them since he's here.
Yeah. So, Pete, I'll show you, and you can set it up here.
That was actually in the Stone Mansion. A lot of people, some people are, don't agree about SLS cameras. A structured light sensor camera, what it does is, people were using Xbox Kinects. What they realized is they'd be playing it would be detecting somebody that wasn't standing there with you. So what they did is they turned around the software and pointed it away from people. And what they noticed is it could find a humanoid shape and it would map it out as a stick figure on the screen. So what this is version 2. It actually uses an Xbox One Kinect. And we were in the Stone Mansion, the one that I mentioned before, and that figure just started flying around up near the ceiling. So with a Kinect, when it actually has the white circles, that means that the hands are closed. So it kept the hands closed, and it just moved around on the ceiling. So that kind of leaves a little bit of credence to SLS cameras, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes something it'll get a hat rack or a chair or something like that, and then some of that could be a little hokey.
Yeah. Right.
But an SLS picture like that, where it actually looks like something gliding through the air, that could be a decent piece of evidence.
And for the podcast fans at home, I'm sure Pete wouldn't have a problem sending me the photos so I could share them.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
We got one more here, too. Let's see.
This one is one of the best pictures that we have ever collected. This was collected by Northwest Indiana Paranormal back in 2018. We were at the Roth House, and Roth House was one half of the Watsika Wonder down in Watsika, Illinois. It was the first happenstance of spiritual possession that was documented. It took place during the 1870s. It involved Mary Roth, how she passed away when she was 18 years old. Her parents built this house to actually channel her spirit. So what they started doing was started having all sorts of different, kind of spiritualist parties, and these people would come over and they would try to make contact with Mary. Well, eventually a girl across town, Larancy Venom, ended up taking on the spirit, so to speak, of Mary Roth, and she ended up coming and living in the house with the Roths for 100 days. So it's kind of a healing story, because they weren't allowed to say goodbye to their daughter before she gave the body back to Larancy, she was able to say goodbye to her parents. There was a lot of different evidence that was collected during that time. She knew stuff about their dead relatives in a time where she could have never picked it up. She didn't even know these people, that kind of stuff. So we've been to both houses. This one was the Roth house. Very nice person. John Whitman owns this house. He's completely restored it and received a lot of different he received a huge award last year for his restoration work. But there was nothing sitting in that couch there. Actually, one of our members, Christy Sierra, she was actually just taking pictures around the house while everybody was outside taking a break. and she collected that in the reflection of the window. So she came out shaking, actually.
Can you zoom
with
that
her
in a little
camera.
bit more, Panic?
Yeah,
Is that
let's-
possible?
Now, Steve, before I get your opinion on the photo, Pete, what are we looking at here?
What you're looking at is there was a couch that was across the room, and there was nobody sitting there. And so what you see there is what looks like either a bald man or something with a white
right.
shirt on with his arm
Right here,
resting on
right?
the right there. But she literally came out shaking, and it's old glass, so you get the wavy glass and stuff like that. But there was nothing over there. We tried to recreate it. There was no way that you could recreate it. But that was definitely one of the best pieces of evidence
This is a
we've
reflection
ever
in
received.
a window, by the way,
Yes.
folks. Yeah, so that's Steve, your opinion.
That's impressive. That's real impressive. Yeah, I don't see the whole room, so it's hard to to know what the rest of the room. But like, if there was only the one person there, like that's you can't explain that. Especially you said it was a female.
Yeah, she's a female with long hair.
Yeah, that's exactly the opposite of what you're seeing there, and that's impressive.
Spooky.
That's really cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so we still have a little bit of time left, which means it's time for the lightning round. I could ask both you guys ridiculous questions since we have a round table. Let's start.
More of
with-
an oval, but sure.
Who asked you
I was saying, it's not really round, but okay.
favorite investigation you ever been on?
Oh boy. Oh wait. The key word is lightning round, right? So
You
it's
could
supposed
just-
to be like.
Yeah.
I would probably say my favorite one is the Monroe House in Hartford City.
Dream investigation.
Ooh, dream investigation. That's a good one.
Money's not an object. You can go wherever you want. No, you don't have to worry about clearance.
Tower of London.
I've heard that one a couple times.
It's a good one.
Steve,
Yes.
favorite topping on nachos?
I'm going to get heat for this. I'm not a big fan of nachos.
Wow.
Oh.
Neither am I.
Whoa.
I don't think I've ever eaten nachos before.
I'm not a fan of like the fake cheese. I don't.
It's
But
fine.
Pete doesn't like his food touching either. So
That's true.
yeah.
All right. Serious question. Then that was just me
Yes.
ribbing you a little bit. Favorite piece of equipment to investigate with?
Oh man. I'm old school. The K2, you can't go wrong with it. It's so versatile. You can track standard EMF levels. You can use it to communicate. Like, I love that. I can't do an investigation without one.
Same question you.
Digital recorder.
Why?
Just the EVPs section about it, and like K2s, I just go a little bit up a notch with millimeters.
Yeah.
Just because it's digital.
Yeah.
And you can throw the temperature in there as well. I don't like all the extra stuff that's on it.
Right.
Like when they have the different things that you could use, but having
It's
a
nice to
digital
have the probe
output,
on it. And, yeah.
right?
Orbs, ghost or dust?
99% of the time is dust.
Orbs, dust or ghosts?
I completely agree with what he's saying. I think 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, it's a bug or it is dust.
Favorite ghost story trope?
What do you mean? Like,
I'll give you mine. So, Lady in White.
I would say like Demon Dog.
Okay. Pete.
Well, you can't say Yule Cat, right?
No, trope isn't love. Listen, your check's in the mail. Now. Bag's excited back there.
We got
Well,
Yule
it's been
Cat.
good having you.
No, like what's the one thing you hear when somebody tells you, a story encounter or whatever, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, like probably when somebody starts talking about somebody in a man in a top hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that comes out a lot. But when somebody starts saying the word orb, I just
Clean your lenses, folks.
come on.
That's your tech team PSA of the day. Get your carbon pens out and make sure you clean your lenses.
Was it rainy? No? Okay, then it's dust.
You think I left you out of the lightning round back there?
Nacho cheese. I do like nacho cheese. I'll go with nacho cheese. Lock it in.
I wouldn't even. You didn't even hear what I was going to say.
Okay. What's the question?
Well, now you ruined it.
No, hit me with the question. I wouldn't be a part.
What's the beer of choice after investigations?
Still nacho cheese.
Believe it or not, it's nacho cheese.
Corona with lime.
Throw that out the window,
come
sir.
on. I know you're a PBR.
PBR old style. If I'm in Chicago, don't get me.
I've never been a PBR fan.
That's your problem. What about old style? Then?
I like old style.
Okay, what about you? Best beer to have after an investigation?
Oh man.
And I've had several with you because I walk into an investigation and the first thing I'm like is, where are we going for drinks after this?
Always drink after.
Do not drink before an investigation. That's an important.
Never.
Because that will throw your inebriation like off a little bit. And no, seriously, I'm not. You'll think everything's a piece of evidence when it's not.
Plus, it just makes you tired.
Yeah,
you're like sitting there for hours, trying to get evidence, and you're just like sitting there.
Also, I've seen it where people have either imbibed or partaken in stuff beforehand, and then not great things happen on the investigation, and they're more susceptible to it because their guard is inherently more down. So it's definitely a no-no on my list.
Let's do one more paranormal horror story. Someone dropping your equipment or you leaving something behind.
Oh, man.
Oof.
That's tough. I mean,
What's worse?
I would probably say leaving behind because people drop things.
I'm
it's
talking
going to
shattered.
happen. Oh, yeah. It's like they didn't mean to do it. So you can kind of like go, oh, man, it was an accident.
Yeah.
Leaving something behind is just negligent, especially when it's like something where, this stuff costs a lot of money. I lost a Polter tune one time. It's like $200. You know what I mean? Yeah. And those type of things are like, and it's still floating around. It's got a sticker on it with my name on it with a phone number, and whoever has it didn't call that number.
Remember we found Jack's equipment when we did the last time I was with you in Crown Point.
Oh yeah,
we're up in the juvenile and we're like, Jack left his stuff behind.
Oh yeah. I found one of those light up like cat toys.
Yeah, the trigger objects.
I found one in Gypsy Cemetery that I had left there like a year and a half before, and it still worked when I picked it up. It was still lighting up.
Steve, same question.
It depends on the piece of equipment if it's dropped. Like,
if
it's my full spectrum camera, that's worse than me leaving something behind.
Okay.
But, like, if it's, like, an EMF meter, like, I'd rather, like, it's worse to leave behind, like, a DVR camera. Because then I got to replace the whole system.
Did I ask you what your dream investigation was?
You did not. No,
okay,
you completely skipped over me, like usual.
Do you feel left out?
No, I'm used to it at this point.
Steve, did you... Oh, by the way, we're ending the night with stories. Did you bring a news story? Pete did, and Count got one. Did you bring a news article?
Yeah, I'll go last. I've been.
You threatened to punch me yesterday. I had to follow up.
That's not my first rodeo. I can get this done in like 30 seconds.
What's your dream investigation, Steve?
I'd love to investigate the Winchester house. I don't believe it's probably as active or as haunted as everyone says it is. But it's one of those almost like an urban legend kind of places where it would just be nice to get in there and, okay, let me just debunk some stuff and try and put an end to a couple of these claims.
We have a texter chiming in here to Colonel. Pete, did you have Officer Pete on the thing when you lost it written on there, or did you just have Pete on it?
It just says Pete Ghrist on it, and it has my phone number, and it says Northwest Indiana Paranormal. It's a sticker.
I was hoping somebody was chiming into the text line being like, dude, I found it.
Hey, I got it.
I got your thing.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, if somebody found it, would they even know what to do with it at that? I mean, can you?
It looks like a Polter tune is actually just a little bit of a different version of a music box.
Oh. So somebody just probably thinks it's like a
was that
music
your coffin?
Bob, don't you have that
No,
in your trunk?
not that.
No, if you lost a coffin, I probably
Oh
would cry.
yeah,
That's a piece of art.
that's another one of my favorites right
Yes.
there. The
St.
Paranormal
Augustine
music
Paranormal,
box.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those guys are great. What was that in my trunk?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I thought I saw some. We'll talk off the air.
Oh, okay. That's me selling Pete's bootleg Paranormal.
Bootleg.
I can't.
It's
It had
the
a
name's-
ripped sticker on the back of it.
It's scratched out. It says Bob. I don't.
North Bob, Indiana Paranormal. What's that mean? But, Pete, just like hearing dogs barking in the distance, I gotta say, it was a blessing to have you on the show today. That joke
thank you.
might have made you laugh, but nobody else. That's the part where you're like, pelicans, Bob.
I get the inside.
Where can people find out more about Northwest Indiana Paranormal and find out more about you legally? Because I know there's obvious job. You don't want people finding you there.
Oh yeah. You just go to the Facebook page or the Instagram. Facebook has more information on it. Just Northwest Indiana Paranormal. You can request to join the page. We have it a private page just because you don't want hackers and things like that to be having access. The high school page is only limited to high school students that are participating or former students that were in it to be able to participate. But that group is always, by the way, looking for places to investigate. They're looking for historical locations, places that they can donate to. We look for community service type places, so they can always contact me at Griffith High School if they want to, open up their place to our students. For the adult program, if it's something that you want to participate, something that you want to, you need help setting up a team, you want to just try out some stuff, you want to go on a trip with us, just sign on to the page, and we'd be glad to have you along.
Excellent. When's your next investigation?
For the high school, tomorrow night.
Oh, jeez.
Tomorrow night.
Keep 'em busy.
Are you going anywhere exciting? I don't know if you want to share that on air. But
It's somewhere in Griffith.
that's fine. Nope, that's it. We'll
So-
talk off air. Yep.
But then, but we're going to that place 3 times.
Oh, that's
so
exciting.
that we can get literally, 36 kids through there. That's part of the reason I have so much equipment is because, you have 12 people there, so you need 12 K2 meters. You have to, that kind of stuff, because you want to make sure that everybody has something they can use. So that also goes along with it. You have to have multiple investigations of the same place.
One more point too about the investigation. It's very cool because people want to learn more about this stuff and go on these trips, but they don't. They're not going to go alone or places they don't know a clue about. I mean, when I saw you at Wickley Whiting doing the library, I mean, the amount of folks that came out to that, it was just amazing. I mean, people are just naturally curious about us, I think.
Yeah, and at the same time helping places like that. Like they had our group at Wickley Whiting doing paranormal investigations. Thank you for bringing that up. We were able to raise around $600 for the library.
That's amazing.
At the same time, but there was droves of people showing up there, especially the second night. They just want to, it's very mainstream now. Yeah. It's stuff that people want to learn about and they want to experience.
They're doing it out in the open now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
What about for the adult group? Where are you guys off to next?
For that one, we just finished up with that Asher Walton and the Rhodes Hotel. That's going to be our last one for 2022. We've already committed to going to a couple different Paracons next year that we want to go to, and we've got several new locations. We're in the process of planning a trip to Villisca Axe Murder House in Iowa.
Wow,
nice.
There is, and then 45 minutes away is Malvern Manor.
Yeah.
So we want to take 6 and 6 and then switch the next night. So we want to do that. There's Hillview out in Pennsylvania. So we've never been to Pennsylvania or Iowa. We want to keep pushing farther.
It's time for Gettysburg, Pete.
That is another one on my list. I haven't been there since high school, so it's definitely somewhere where I want to investigate.
I've heard good things about that Axe House.
Oh, you have?
Heard a lot of good things about that place.
Good.
Neil was just on here last week talking about it.
Oh, I can't wait to go.
That's going to be a good one. Hold on. Let's see if I could do this. Folks, you can catch Steve on all of his social medias at Chicago Bear Hug, ProWrestlingTees.com/Chicago Bear Hug. Use promo code Bob After Dark for 10% off on your next purchase.
Nope, still not working.
Yep, and then you could also do Bob After Dark, please, for free shipping.
That actually gets an extra 100% added on, so don't use that code.
Okay, but you could go on there and use promo code Bob After Dark for 10% off on your next purchase.
No, but if you go on to collarandelbow.com and purchase any items on Collar and Elbow and use the promo code BearHug, you will get a discount on your order.
But you can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Chicago Bear Hug, buy all of your Steve Michaels T-shirts and ring gear, and use promo code Bob After Dark for 20% off on your purchase.
No promo code on that one. But he is correct. ProWrestlingTees.com/Chicago Bear Hug. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Chicago Bear Hug. Like to keep it easy. If you're happening to be listening to this from our great state of Hawaii, the island of Oahu, Steve Michaels is returning on December 22nd.
This will be out.
For Oos Wrestling. I'm going to be on their 4th anniversary show. It'll be my second show in Hawaii ever and this year. Looking forward to coming back. And Mele Kaliki Maka, I believe, is the thing to say. Merry Christmas in Hawaii. So
you got to do an investigation out there while you're out there? Ghost tour?
No, I'm going to do some whale watching. I'm going to eat a lot of spam musubi. Which is delicious.
You could go in that cave that the Brady Bunch went in. The idol.
The idol?
That's more a Bob thing, really.
Yeah, listen, I'll go into that cave. No.
Bob would show up and be like, oh, hey, Steve, look what I found. I'd be like, I'm going to get you a separate room, Bob. I don't want any part of this. You're on a different flight now.
What do you got?
Oh, you want me to promote?
Do you have something to promote?
Sure.
I'm
helping out.
What does Captain Pierogi have going on?
That's why I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mr.
Pierogi.
It's Captain. It's Captain.
If you're on the Facebook there, go ahead and go to Mr. Pierogi on Facebook. Give it a like. I'm helping the guy out. Mr. Pierogi on Facebook. Give it a like. Give it a follow. And helping a friend out.
That's the end of it. So speaking of things, while I'm sitting here, I just got booked for MagFest.
Wow.
So I'm speaking at MagFest, first of the year. I'll be in Washington, D.C. one week, and then back-to-back I'll be in Columbus the following week for OhioCon. Wow. But I just got the email now that I'll be at
there you go.
I'll be at MagFest 2022 and 2023 in D.C. I'll post that stuff up on the social media so you guys can see. I'm doing 2 panels that weekend at MagFest. One is it's a video game convention, so I'm doing the video game creepypasta panel, and then I'm doing a brand new Bob After Dark experience at MagFest. The creepy Pokemon and You panel.
Man, look at this. Video Bob Anderson making his big return.
Yes, but then the following week, OhioCon, I have 5 panels that weekend.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah.
It is a lot of speaking throughout 4 days. I am just back-to-back signing autographs. I believe it or not, I have people, OhioCon's probably like my biggest show I do of the year. I have people that will literally wait in line to see me 5 times.
Just,
really?
Bob, you're just walking through there, just shaking babies and kissing hands.
No.
Scratch that, reverse it.
Reverse it.
I know what I said.
Folks, thank you so... Oh, nope, can't leave yet. You don't have to do this, but you have to do this. I always make the guest leave with some sort of prolific comment or an adage or a piece of advice or a joke.
Oh, man.
I always make them leave with something. Do you have a piece of an adage or a quip?
A quip.
A quip.
Let's see. I might have to hand that off.
Let me go.
No.
Let me go first, and that will buy you time. A nice little
You already did the Merry Christmas in Hawaiian, bro.
Well, no, that wasn't a thing. That was me promoting my show at Goose Wrestling on December 22nd in
tell them
Honolulu, Hawaii.
Tell them they could listen to this episode then too.
You think I don't put you over in Hawaii?
Okay.
No, like what Bob needs is he needs like some kind of like prophetic like adage, like front to back, never back to front.
Or
Don't play with matches.
Or if you hang out with bank robbers long enough, pretty soon you'll be driving the getaway car.
That's an high school officer.
There it is.
That's the I run a high school club like slogan.
There's the police officer.
Folks, thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Bob After Dark. Mom, I just want to wish you sweet dreams. Dad, wherever you are in the universe, I hope you're happy and comfortable. Tiff, wherever you are in the world, I hope you have the sweetest dreams of them all. Good night, everybody. Remember, the two most important rules of Bob After Dark are not all who wander are lost, and as above, so below. Until next time.
Memoriam Development.
Oh.